Hey guys, I want to do I'm gonna do some more pork this morning, and I wanted to do some pork with you guys. I got a pork loin here, weighs about 4 pounds, and I have a pork shoulder here that weighs about 5.5, I think. But I still got to debone it, and I'm gonna weigh it again after I debone it. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this one up to make me some more shoulder bacon, and I'm going to set this one up. I'm just going to cure this one for about 48 hours. I'm not going to cure it all the way through. Actually, what I'm going to do is just season it. And then I'm going to smoke this in a cold smoke. I might give it an hour smoke, depending on how it's taking it. Then I'm going to offset it in my grill. For these two small pieces, I'm not going to fire my big smokehouse up for these two small pieces. I can use my smokehouse and my cold smoke generator sitting on the inside of it, which is nothing more than a bucket. I use a small, clean metal pail. I'll build me a little fire inside of it with, you can use charcoal briquettes. You can build you a little hot coal fire and then put it in it. And then I'll throw a few pieces of apple in it or hickory or whatever it is that I'm wanting to use. And I'll just set it inside the smokehouse on the floor and shut the door up. Doesn't necessarily raise the temperature very much in there with that little bit of heat. It might raise it up into the low 90s, maybe the mid 90s. But in this particular scenario here, I'm not wanting a hot smoke. I'm just wanting to roll some smoke on these porks, and that's what we'll get to and later on as the process goes. But anyway, I'm gonna take this here pork shoulder. I'm gonna take the bone out of it. It's still kind of froze, but I guess it's better than working with it today. Didn't want it to get too warm before we got to this process. But it ain't brain surgery to take this bone out. Just take it out the way you see fit. This is a little bit different. This got more of a shank on it than some of the other ones that I've done. I'm gonna have to work around this one if I can find it. There we go. I just want to get this pulled out and get it trimmed up. You can't really do much with the bone in there, much less alone slice it. And we've been through this in a couple of the YouTube videos on this. Don't throw this bone away. Save the bone for soup beans, man. All you country boys like some soup beans. Like I do. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take that out because there's a lot of fat. Whenever you buy these, they're wrapped and you really can't see what you're dealing with. But this is all good bean meat. I'll clean this up right here a little bit later. Scrape that bone down. And here, you don't necessarily have to take this cap off, but I think I'm going to. Just to make my meat a little thinner. Go ahead and save this cap as well, because I'm gonna do shoulder bacon here anyway. I'm not a butcher by any means, so if my cuts aren't precise, that's why. But get that off there. That's a good bunch of bean meat. So I wound up with a lot smaller piece of meat than I had, but here is what we're gonna have. Okay, it's gonna be a very small piece of bacon. I want to know what this weighs, for the very reason, because of this Prague powder right here. You gotta be careful with this Prague powder. And the USDA guidelines on that Prague powder is get it set to pounds. 3.5 pounds. So I cut 2 pounds off first, but about right. Okay, well, remember that's 3.5 pounds. The USDA guideline on this right here, and you really want to be careful with it, it's a word of caution, because I always try to use it, is 1 teaspoon for every 5 pounds of pork. So I'm going to use a little less than a teaspoon. If you want to weigh it out, weigh it out. I'm just going to ask you to be careful with these nitrites. If you don't like to use nitrites, and I don't really like using them myself, but I've used them enough, I'm comfortable with them. You can use celery powder. Celery powder is a natural nitrate. You can use it. That's what they used, I guess, what I've heard they used a long time ago. And I'm not going to do anything with this one right here in particular. But this is going to be a quick one. This one I'm going to let go. I got 3 pounds, 3.5 pounds, 2 days to the pound, so 6 days. About 6 days, and then 2 days on top of that. 6 days, I'll take this out of the rub, rinse it off, and put it in cold water for 24 hours to pull some of the salt out of it, and then take it out of the cold water, and then towel dry it, and then air dry it in a cool box in my refrigerator or someplace really cool for another 24 to make it tacky, so it takes smoke with it. So 6 days of cure, 1 day of soaking, 1 day of drying. That's the way I do it. But you guys do it however it sees fit. This one here doesn't really matter what this weighs. I think this was a 3.5 pound piece as well. It don't stink. I kept smelling something. You know how to use your sniffer on pork and chicken, right, guys? I mean, if it don't smell right, it ain't right. Basically what it boils down to. You can get stuff at the store every now and then. Now, these were store-bought. I didn't kill these hogs. These were store-bought, and they get them on sale. This was $1.99. No, it was 99 cents. So it was 6.5 pounds. So just figure what it cost. It's really cheap for bacon too. This was on sale 99 cents as well. So what I'm gonna do here, I'll lay these pieces of meat over here, just kind of. I'm just gonna get them out of the way for right now. Got my knife sharpener in there too. I'm gonna go ahead and start with this one first so we can get it out of the way. We know what this weighs, 3.5 pounds. I'm gonna lay it back in this box. I use brown sugar. There's a 1/2 cup of loose. I don't use a lot. Sometimes I do use a lot more. Sometimes I do use a lot more. I'm just gonna put it in the box there. Sometimes I do use a lot more, sometimes I don't. On your salt, use kosher salt or pickling salt. Don't use iodized salt. It's just not the same. I'll use a 1/2 cup of my salt here as well. I know it sounds pretty salty, but that's why we soak it. Go ahead and get my salt on there. Now on the Prague powder, a lot of people do a wet brine for this bacon, and they use the wet brine because I can see the purpose in using the wet brine, putting the water in and putting the meat in it. I can see the purpose of that, really I can. I'm gonna use a 1/2 teaspoon. 2.5 pounds would be a 1/2 teaspoon, so I'm only gonna use a 1/2 teaspoon, which puts me under what they consider to be a safety level. I'm just gonna shake it around in there. It gets mixed up. Anyway, if you use the wet brine, all of it mixes in, your solution's 100% mixed. Like this right here, I just put it in there and just started switching it around. And you want to coat this bad boy with all this salt and sugar, because you know what salt and sugar does, guys. Salt and sugar. Sugar goes in, the salt goes in. The salt and sugar pulls the moisture content out of the inside of it. This Prague powder penetrates deep inside of it. And I like it like this. I have done the wet brines. If you like the wet brine, you'll find some good wet brines on YouTube, some real good ones. I saw a lot of real good ones. But the purpose of this is, for me, is I just rub this around on there. I'm gonna set it down over here out of the way. The reason that I like, I'm gonna talk about this Prague powder a little bit more in a second. The reason I like to do the dry is because I'll put this in a Ziploc baggie or a vacuum seal bag or something, or this right here is all really, well, I'll have to put this in something to make room in my refrigerator here in a minute. But this will pull 2 cups of moisture out of this. I can see the moisture coming out of it, and that's kind of one of my gauges whenever I'm doing this, is to watch the moisture come out. Every morning when I turn it, it'll have a cup of water in it, a 1/4 cup anyway, before the next hour. And you turn it every day, and then your Prague powder is still in there, and so then everything gets mixed around in a liquid brine. And I just feel like it just puts a lot more of the salt and sugar content in the meat this way. Now, if you don't think that, that's fine. But arguably, that's how I feel about it. And I enjoy doing it this way. Now, on the other one here, this is out of the way. This is going to be for supper. This is Monday. I will eat this Wednesday afternoon. So I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to get myself another 1/2 cup of brown sugar. I don't pack it, it's just loose, that's enough. Give me another cup of brown sugar. And actually, since how that I've had another, call it 3/4 cup. Half's a plenty, but I was just about out. So I put the rest of that bag on there. And then my kosher salt, another half a cup. This is fooling with 3-pound stuff. If you any bigger than 3 pounds, adjust your ratio accordingly, and you can adjust it accordingly for your own personal taste. I mean, if you want it sweeter or hotter, saltier, it's all up to you. This is just my basic brine for kind of curing out this bacon here for the process. And what this does to this right here, you're going to love it. I do actually cure these loins and make Canadian bacon. This bacon, this one right here would be 6 days. Because a 3 to 3.5 pounder, it'd be 6 days. 1 day soak, 1 day to dry, then smoking. And it makes the best Canadian bacon. Put it on my slicer and slice it out. And I use the Preg powder in it, but I'm not going to this time because this is a whole other thing for me. Just stir, mix my salt and sugar together. These are going to be really, really good. It gives it a, I don't know, it gives it a cured meat flavor. That's what I'm getting at. This right here gives it a cured texture, cured flavor, cured look. It's really good. I'm going to have a little bit of salt and sugar left over. Now, my hands are dirty again, but I'm going to work with this for a minute because I want to get this done quick as I can. Now, that's basic. Now, here's what's not basic. Do whatever you want with extra stuff. See, I like garlic, so just slap whatever you figure there. Slather it on there. Black pepper is always fantastic on pork. Black pepper. Now, you can do that to this one here as well. We just didn't do it. And hot red pepper flake, yeah man, you gotta have red pepper flake, and I like plenty of it. It rinses back off. You're not gonna be eating so much. And I like celery salt. Now, like we was talking about earlier, I'm gonna get back to this Preg powder here just in a second. There we go. And it's awesome. Smell like celery instantly. Smell like garlic instantly. We're going to look at these here just in a minute, but there's my basic setup, okay? This one over here, well, as it's going to cure, I'm going to let it cure for the amount of time that I said. Then I'm going to cold smoke it. Then I'm going to go indirect heat in my grill. This one here is, I put it in a bag here after a while, it'll be ready for the smoker. This one here, I'll put it in a bag and put it in the refrigerator, put it in the crisper. I will roll it this afternoon. Tomorrow afternoon, I will roll it again. Wednesday afternoon, I'll take it out and rinse it, and we'll cook this. We will have video. We will go all the way through with this so you guys can see it. If you've never used this stuff here and you're curious about it, let me just say a few things that I think is important about Preg powder, okay? It's good. It keeps botulism down. Be careful with it. I mean, you can't stress it enough. Everybody who you see does videos and uses this will stress that point a little bit. Just be careful with it. And if you store it in your house, here's the way I store it in my house. That says poison, don't use unless I say so. Cured pink salt, Preg powder. If you got, I keep it in my pantry back there. There's kids here. My kids are grown, but they're still kids. And I don't want them running back there saying, oh, look, there's pink salt. You know, you don't want to do that. Make sure that it is labeled and your family knows what that is. Put it up where nobody can get their hands on it. That's the way I like to do that. It's not a terrible thing to have. It's handy to have. Just it takes a little responsibility because that stuff will make you terribly sick. You can get real sick on that. It takes quite a bit of it, but that's just the fact that we can get sick on it is enough to convince me I don't want to overdo it. Okay. That's what I got to say about the Preg powder. Use any kind of season that you like. You can season this any way you like. There we go. You can season this right here any way you like. I just simply put a cure on it. That's all I want right now. So I'm going to get these things ready to go in. I'll show you how I get them prepared and I'll put them away. Okay guys, I think I pretty much covered all of it there. It's not hard to do. It just you just got to kind of attack it. Don't worry too awful much about it. I mean, these are really nice. Look at all the goodies on that right there. And you can put that Preg powder in this right here if you want to actually dye the meat. And what that does is get that pink dye in it. and turn that meat a little red where it looks bacony, you can do that. I'm just not going to do that with this one right here. I'm just going to let that salt and sugar pull all the moisture out of that. All right, guys, I'm going to put these into bags. I use food saver bags, the vacuum seal bags, most of the time. A lot of people got them, a lot of people don't, but you can use these, so I'm going to use this. Almost a two-person job, but you ain't got nobody. It's got to take your time. It is a little bit on the messy side. You want to have a bag big enough to hold the whole thing so it's not wadded up. So keep that in mind when you put it in a bag. If it's going to be a little bit tight, you might need to make two pieces out of it or get you a bigger bag, whatever it is that you actually got to do to make it work for you. You just need to be able to seal the bag. It's going to get a lot of moisture in it, and you don't want to spill them out in your refrigerator necessarily. Let's fill that nicely. Make you an X on one side of the bag with a marker, or if you got a bag it's got some kind of ID on it, that way you know which way you rolled it last. Put the rest of that right there on top of that. Then slide this one right here in there. It's already started pulling the moisture out of it like crazy. Really, guys. I don't know if you can see it there or not, but there's. Uh-oh. I spilled it all over the table, man. You smoked my head for that. We have piss ants in the house. Starts pulling it out quick. Okay, so we keep our time frame we're talking about. Just every day, just flip it. Every day, just flip it. That meat's going to tighten up. It's going to firm up. If you've done this before, you know it. If you don't, that's what you expect. If you let it go in just a couple days, it's really not going to hurt it. It might make your salt a little harder to get out, but at least give yourself that much time inside this. Now, like I said, this one here, I'm not curing this. All I'm doing is seasoning this. It's basically I'm just putting a rub on it, but it's the same rub that I use to cure with, just no curing product. It's going to be delicious too. It's going to look like bacon. It's going to taste like bacon. It just won't keep as long as bacon will. Okay, guys, this is because I did not vacuum seal them. When I use the vacuum sealer, I don't suck all the way down and pull the moisture up into my air vac. When I put my vacuum bag on, when I use that instead of these, I just pull about half the air out of it and then seal it so it don't pull all that moisture up inside my vacuum sealer and ruin it. But since I didn't use it, I use these. I'm going to put them inside this tub right here, and we will get back with you guys when these are ready to get on the smoke.